Okay, so we're discussing about project management, and we identified that there are well-defined knowledge areas that project managers need to build their skill and so on. But they cannot work if they don't have support from the tools. And tools are very important in making decision support. They are tools with advanced techniques implemented. They help them to better estimate, for example, cost in their projects and schedule for the respect of time. So for scope management, there are specialized software available like Project Charter. It helps the project manager to define the requirements, their scope and so on. And workbench example, I think I have example over here. This helps the project manager to divide the project into tasks, identify the possible tasks and draw a timeline. And this give a picture to project manager and the stakeholders, okay, how much time would be spent. And this also helps the team members to calculate cost and other factors associated with the project. So workbench structures. For time management, we know Gantt charts are used, network diagrams are used when multiple entities are involved, the relationship between them, especially in resource management. If you have resources and they need to be shared among various projects, what are the dependencies and so on. Critical path analysis, these are the algorithms that are used to identify dependencies between different tasks, and the second task can start only if first task is finished, and it helps the project manager keep updated so that they can better schedule the future task. Especially today, we have real-time data analysis. Even software systems are taking into account live Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds. As I mentioned, if there are certain external factors that you need to take care of. If your supplier is getting out of business and the CEO staff share some tweet, that tweet can be taken into account by these today, especially real-time analytics done by algorithms, and can give you alert. This is the company we are doing businesses, and this is what is happening on social media. Okay, so we have tools that are doing it. Similarly, we have critical chain scheduling. These are specialized algorithms who basically create calculate dependencies among projects that are sharing resources, and how you can better assign those limited resources to various projects. Okay, and overall objective is time management, so that one project should not be wasting the time waiting for resources. So better coordination we want to achieve using these softwares. Similarly, we have cost management softwares as well. This is work breakdown structure. So tools that have high use and high potential for improving improving project success, such as we have software for task management, scope management, requirement analysis, and there are some tools that basically capture the knowledge that is being generated by a certain project. Okay, and that knowledge can be reused in future project. Okay, so they have certain templates through which if you define the information and you achieve certain results, that information will be available for future projects. For example, risk assessment. If you are dealing with these suppliers and you have placed orders on such a short notice, and that supplier delivered the item within time, it means there is a reliable supplier. And when you're doing in future any project with that supplier, the previous information can help you to calculate the risk factor. Okay, so lessons learned are very critical for organizations. And we know that in nowadays there's no task in project management that does not involve software somehow. Even though it's just meeting, minutes of meeting would be recorded and distributed using these softwares. And Gantt charts and progress reports are used for discussions and so on. So there are several factors that define success of projects, and we discussed that. We discussed about triple constraint, and if project manager finishes a project within defined scope, within defined time, and achieve the cost goals, can we consider that as a successful project? Yes, in some cases, not in other cases, as quality is another factor. If they are able to achieve these two constraints, but the quality of project is such that clients say no way. Yeah. So although so this definition does not fit in for all projects. So if client is not happy, stakeholder is not happy, no matter how you achieve these factors, it's not of no use. And other way around, it could be possible that you satisfy the customer, but you went over budget, you spend extra time, and you are within scope. It may be considered as a successful project. So success of a project varies, definition varies from project to project. Important objective is it should basically achieve its objective, and whatever extra spending or extra time is being invested, it could be preempted, it could be predicted ahead of time, and better scheduling can be done for that. So eventually it will be considered as a successful project if everyone is happy. But as I mentioned, in real life it's very hard. The person who is putting in money, he is always unhappy. He is not want to put any penny extra. In fact, he always wants to save the money and so on. And this is reality. And when you will be working in industry, you will see that in your role, definitely there are some perceptions, but there is some reality. Okay, and you need to understand what is reality, and accordingly you have to work in your job. What helps the projects to succeed? These are some of the factors. For example, executive support. If you don't have executive support, you are project managers in conflict with the executives, then that's not good. So you have to be in good relationship within your organization and your teams. Users involvement, the end user who is going to use the systems, try to involve them as well, especially when you are designing graphical user interface. So for example, Google Plus is very intuitive, but it's not as popular as Facebook because user may not need so much intuitiveness, interactive gadgets and so on. So again, end user is very important. It's not always a technology. Sometimes you give best technology to the user and he say no, and it's possible that with maybe old technology client would be happy. So end user involvement is very critical. Experienced project manager, clear business objective. If scope is minimized, you can better address it. If you don't know the scope, then definitely uncertainty would be there. Standard software infrastructure, if you're using, then definitely you have interoperability and you can better maneuver with your software development strategies. Firm basic requirements. If basic requirements change, then definitely, for example, software methodology, you select waterfall in today's software development, then you will end nowhere. Formal methodologies, the methodologies that have been implemented in tools, and when we say formal, it means there is well behind theory behind it, that if you get these inputs, this is expected output, and every time you do, every time you repeat the experiment, you get the same output. It's not like that; it will change. So that's why we call them as formal methods. Estimates are reliable, and other criteria are listed over here. So these are the factors that contribute to success of a certain project. But what winners do when they are doing successful projects one after another, what they do? So the winners, they basically integrate the knowledge. As I mentioned, they use certain softwares in which there is a provision that the knowledge that is gained in this project can be reused. Okay, so they invest more in these technologies. Okay, and the technology is being used is called integrated project management toolbox. So this toolbox is developed in such a fashion that you can reuse the knowledge. You can create new projects by incorporating knowledge from previous projects and so on. And these organizations help their employees to develop. Okay, they don't like to hire someone from other company and put on their employees. In fact, they have well-defined trainings, programs, scheduled for their employees, so that they have clear career development paths. They know that after 3 years I have to be on this level and so on. And that's and in order to achieve those levels, they continuously have opportunity for career development through training and mentoring and so on. So on one side, they build their own people. They invest in their own people. Okay. On the second side, they also streamline the project delivery process. They try to reinvestigate, okay, this is the current process. How environment is changing. Do we need to change our process or not? Can we make our processes more agile? Okay. Do we need to change the mode of business we are doing? So they continuously monitor the way they are delivering process, business and so on. And while doing that, they have well-defined measures to achieve. They define their goals, and then they define how they can measure their goals, after how long. So they have well-defined matrices. They does not go and start doing the project. Before starting the project, they have each and everything in place, that this is what we need to do, these are the starting resources, and after how long, what we are expecting, and these are the measures that you need to deliver. And project manager takes that information into account, and then accordingly he moves forward. So this is what successful companies do. So we saw that a project group together and program, and many organizations nowadays, you must have heard about portfolio management. Portfolio management, again, managing projects and programs together. And if I take you to the next slide, okay, I think that, okay, let's. So again, we are combining the programs together, and the objective is strategic thinking. Okay, in organization there are three types of goals. One is operational goals. Operational goals are day-to-day goal. Okay, day-to-day operations that do organization do. The second type of goals are tactical goals, and the objective of these goals is 3 to 4 months ahead. They look 3 to 4 months ahead. Okay, and the strategic beyond that. Okay, so in portfolio management, they look beyond 3 to 4 months objective. For example, in project management, in tactical goals, we look at how the projects, are we carrying out projects well? So you are looking at projects individually. Whereas in portfolio management, you see that the projects you are doing, they are right track or not. And how you can measure that they are right on track or not? If you see those projects keeping in you what mission you have as an organization, or what is your aim of your organization. Okay, so you basically change the perspective. Now you are thinking in strategic term, how these projects will lead to achieve something in the future. Whereas in this case, you are looking at outcome of the project itself. So this is clear shift in the thinking process. So in portfolio manager, basically make investment decisions that have long-lasting impact. Okay, for example, Apple is getting its product manufacturing in China. So this was a strategic decision they made, and they knew that once they start doing it, they will be dependent on China, and there could be political issues, geopolitical issues that may impact this, but they took this decision because of some factors, for example, cost reduction and so on. So portfolio managers do it. They look at, okay, we are developing 5 products, and the manufacturer that we can make use of in future is residing, for example, in China and so on. So big investments go in order to meet these strategic goals. And Roberts said that it's very important that the projects you do, they should be aligned with your strategy. Okay, every organization has certain mission statement, and mission statement you always see that it looks like they will never achieve it. Outstanding organization in the world, and maybe it's not outstanding within its own country, but every organization has a mission which will inspire the people, and they will never achieve it, but they keep working towards it. Okay, so similar fashion, you have to see your projects, they contributing towards the long-term strategy. Okay, and always engage stakeholders that can help you to achieve your long-term objectives. Okay, and we discussed when we discuss about programming process, that engagement of stakeholders is very important. On different stages, if you engage the stakeholders, this basically reduces the risk of software failure. This is an example of a portfolio management, and we know that today in every organization we have basically these portfolios well defined of IT portfolio management, and there will be a manager who is looking at all IT aspects of the organization, IT projects, so on, HR, marketing, and so on. So in IT project portfolio management, if you look over here, there's some cost organization has to pay to run the business, and this cost they cannot compromise on. So we call it non-discretionary cost. This is the one they have to invest in order to run their vehicles, in order to pay the employees and so on. And in order to identify new projects, fund those projects, they in order to growth, they need to take into account risk, value, and time factors. Okay, so and that comes under discretionary cost. Organization it depends upon organization how what the strategy dictates. If strategy is continue working like this, then they may never initiate projects that may increase their growth or transform their business. Okay, but if they identify the strategy says, oh no, we have to become a global, we don't have to be national now, we have to go international, then they have to identify projects that will contribute to their growth. And after that, they may identify certain projects which will require more, which will be more risky, more cost will be required, and so on, to transform the business. Okay, and so on. So portfolio managers have a key role over here. They look at their strategy, long-term strategy, and then align the projects with them. So they will not initiate a project which may conflict with long-term strategy. Right now, it may look feasible, but investor may not be worth spending on. Okay, so what skills project managers require? They should be comfortable with change. As they are saying, there is nothing permanent except change. Change in technologies, change in your team. Okay, change in team definitely brings more challenges. You have to work with different people who, again, you have to accommodate yourself, adjust yourself according to the nature and so on. So be comfortable with change. Understand the organizations, how they work and what they require, what are the inputs to the project, and what expectations organization is setting for you, whether they are realistic or not. Project manager has to be very careful of these. Be able to lead the teams and accomplish the goal of the project. So he should have some experience being a part of a team that contributed to a certain project, and now he become a project manager. He knows tricks of the trades, what they need to do in order to achieve those objectives. And technically he should be sound. He should know all the knowledge areas, technical areas, and the people he needs in his project. So the role of project manager is, nowadays you see there is some specialization. Project manager and project coordinator would have some different roles, but essentially they are doing planning, scheduling, coordinating the work in the teams or multiple teams. Okay, in job description, these are the core things which people will be organization will be looking for project managers to have. And 90% in success of projects increase if a project manager is experienced. You will see that most of the projects that are challenging, their project manager will be experienced. But for R&D projects, if it is a novel idea, the person who would be leading the project may not be experienced person. So it varies from project to project as well. But it is very well established that project manager is senior, he knows the environment very well, and there are more chances of success of a project. So it's very important they should get involved in projects and especially in the successful projects, and through them they can learn and better develop their skills. So they should have project management body of knowledge, the framework we discussed, application areas, standards, regulations, especially in what country they are working on, what partners they are working with, what the regulations of that country says, project environment, general management knowledge skills, and soft skill, for example, how to deal with people. So these are the skills which we all know project managers need to have. He should not be he should be able to control his temper. He should be able to identify the conflict and should be able to resolve the conflict rather than getting involved in the conflict. Okay, takes one step back and try to bring team together and so on. So these are the skills. They are listed over here. Integrity, ethical behavior, these are the things which are very crucial, which people need to adhere to, especially when their laws are put in place. Build trust, verbal communication should be good, good at building teams, conflict resolution, conflict management. This is well defined science now. There are courses being taught to the people how to manage it. Critical thinking, problem solving, innovative projects. This is very important. Team manager needs to encourage the team to think critically, and for that he has to create an environment so that they can think critically.
The only problem is someone with all those skills will not stay as a their organisation for very long.
Yep.
They will tend to be promoted.
That's why organization has to invest in their people.
Yes.
Because they need to understand a project manager will go. So if he goes, there would be a second in charge who can take on the role. So that's big organizations basically always have second person they know they can put in place. Yeah. Yep. So a big organization, that's why it's not a big deal for them. But for small to medium scale organization, if a person go, he's the one who have all the knowledge, because there was no documentation, there was no use of tools. He's the one who was master of all trades, and he was able to manage the client, give us schedule, developing everything. If he's gone, organization may not survive. So different skills are needed for different projects. For large scale project, as I mentioned, experience is very important. But for novel project, it may not be a precursor. Okay. If uncertainty is high, then risk management will play a critical role in doing all the stuff. So depending upon the nature, skill set will vary. Okay. So importance of leadership skills. As I said, and we know that there is difference between leader and manager. Manager basically task is defined, that he start doing those tasks, involves the team and so on. But whereas leader inspire, okay, and that's why the portfolio managers, we can think of them as the leaders. They set the strategy, organizations, and then project managers, program managers follows them so that they can achieve the overall strategy of a business. So the more higher in hierarchy you are, the more leadership qualities you need. So project management discipline is growing now. As I said, they are well defined courses and project management certifications people do, and today there's no, especially in medium to large scale organizations, there's no ad hocism over there. There will be well defined professional managers doing the task. In small scale organizations, still a person who is maybe team lead doing all the project management and so on. And the big role Project Management Institute played in this, especially the PM book. They published PM book. They defined what sort of skills are required, what are the standards they came up with, and so on. So they played a big role. And people argue that Egyptian pyramid or Great Wall China, basically they were the projects where people basically understood the essence of project management. And some people say this Manhattan project, which was a project led by US along with the UK and Canada, which was an R&D project for development of some nuclear weapons. That was a successful project. It was in 1946. So there are examples in the past which people look and can aspire that, these people, at that time it was not recognized as a discipline, but people still were able to do very good. So software is very critical. And as I mentioned, software is the one that helps the project manager to get more visibility into planning and monitoring process. So in market, the various softwares are available, and you can categorize them as low end, mid range, or high end software. If you invest, if the software is cheap, then definitely it's not giving you much functionality. In some cases, you don't need a big software. If you are a logistics company delivering product from A to B, you only need scheduling software and maybe some routing functionality, which is the best tool. But if you are enterprise, a big enterprise, then definitely you need some software that can provide you portfolio management. And this VPIM, virtual project management internet, is basically cloud-based portfolio management software. Okay. And a mid-range, for example, Microsoft project. Maybe you would be using it as your assessment project manager. Using it, yeah. So there are different softwares available. Being a project manager, you have to identify what sort of software support you need in your project. So now project management and you. Most of us basically start our careers as a programmer. Okay, but you can do programming for maximum 5 years. 3 to 5 years is the average time. You are listening to instructions and you're just coding. After 3 to 5 year experience, you become a team lead maybe, and you are the one who basically manage the people. You are the one who tell the people what to do, what objectives we need to achieve, what my boss want, how much investment we have, and what is the deadline for us to achieve, and what criteria with respect to quality we have to take into consideration. So eventually you have to play a role which is similar to project manager in your career. So it's very important for you to learn tricks of the trade. So when you are a developer, you need to see how your manager, team lead is dealing with you, what the important aspects he is taking care of, and what he is expecting from you, and in return, what your output is. Are you able to fulfill all of his objective? Which may be the case or maybe not. In most of cases, maybe not. Okay, because always project managers expect more from their team, but they do realize that in a realistic world sometimes things can go plus minus and so on. So take it seriously. Project management stuff, well, it was traditionally boring when you study about just the theoretical knowledge, but nowadays if you have taken some management course, people start taking into account the case study, and through case study they identify the issues and then they relate the theory that can help to address those scenarios. So it's not boring, so it's more entertaining nowadays because it involves people. Especially if you have some experience, you enjoy taking these courses. You can relate your experience with the case study which are being discussed in the study. So if you look from theoretical aspect, it may be boring, but it's not always the case. But it's very important, like system analysis, which is very critical, and we all know for software development, in order to deliver product, project management is very critical for delivering the project. Okay. And project managers have a key role to play in this regard, and in some time it may be possible that you start your own business and you work as a contractor. Then you would be playing a role of developer as well as a project manager. So it's a good skill for you to learn how to engage with the people, how to give estimate to the client, and estimate the cost of for that, for example, software development and so on. So conclusion, if you end up working as a contractor or you're working in an organization as a part of team or as a team lead, you have to consider that project management is a skill. It is not something that you can start on your own. That okay, I think this should be done this fashion. No, you should consult the theory. You consult the people who are expert in this field, get their advice, and then accordingly build your strategy. Okay, so this is the important message, because you cannot survive if scope of your project keep on changing. Okay, you have to be realistic. Instead of getting the project, you should not promise something which you cannot deliver. So sign off is very important, especially if you're working as a contractor. You have to be realistic what you can deliver, because if you're not able to deliver, it will be bad reputation. Especially nowadays, people, whenever they engage with any supplier, they Google it. And there are forums like Yelp and other feedback forums where you can see the feedback against that company. And especially when you are working in a global market, that feedback is very critical. So you should know what are the inputs to your project, what would be the final deliverable, and how you can measure it. How you can tell the client that is 25% has been done. Okay, it's not like randomly you say 25%. You should be able to measure it. Okay, and once the project is complete, you will be able to measure it that is complete because it's doing A, B, C according to what is expected and so on. And definitely when you are doing project, if you're in organizations, then audit trials can happen. So definitely you have to keep some documentation to account so that things can go according to organization expectations. So that's it for project management. And if you can find this resource book ebook version, then you can read these chapters, but these are not mandatory for exam. That's it for today. So this was about project management. So any question? No? Okay. In last lecture, I will quickly recap in the next, which will be last lecture, and the last week is free for you. You can spend time with your assessment. Okay. In the last lecture, which is the next lecture, I will quickly recap the course, and if you have certain questions, bring them along. I will try to answer them, and we will discuss the exam paper in detail. Okay. A simple exam paper is uploaded, but there's slight change, which I will mention you next week. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I will see you in the lab then. Okay. Good.
I have a question.